For years, it sat largely derelict and desolate. Visions and promises have been announced in that time and then disappeared like this bike trail along the lake. Today, we heard from another provincial government. The current Conservatives say that they're open to hear from the private sector about their pitches for the future of Ontario Place.
Our vision for Ontario Place does not include residential developments or casinos.
There will be no government money when it comes to capital or operations of Ontario Place.
The province announcing today that the global search for private partners to build, quote, a world-class destination is open, with the Ford government making it clear that Blackjack and Sky High residential towers are off the table. They rolled out their parameters for developers today. They want to lease the land and won't accept any proposals that include public dollars to build up or operate the more than 150-acre site. Though the Cinesphere is not protected, the pods that hover above the lake could also be gone. A 7.5-acre public park must be part of the package, but that doesn't mean the recently opened Trillium Park that cost $13 million is safe. What would you say to critics who say this is public land? Is it wise for us to hand over the keys to the private sector?
It makes sense from a value for money and a taxpayer perspective that the private sector steps up and invests their money.
The province also told potential developers today that there's no requirement for complete public access. All portions of the site could be privately controlled. It's a caveat that has some seeing red.
This is like handing over High Park to the private sector. Lock, stock, and barrel. There's absolutely no rules.
2 weeks ago, we showed you this private proposal on City News that included reinventing the city-owned X grounds along with the provincially owned Ontario Place at the same time. It's also something that Council voted in favor of back in 2014, something that then Councillor Doug Ford voted in favor of, though today's Ford government wouldn't commit to the idea. Are you willing to accept proposals that include visions for the CNE and Ontario Place together, and are you willing to work with the city on that?
Ontario Place is what is up for a proposal for development at this point.
It's a tremendous missed opportunity. If you truly want to unlock the incredible city and province building potential of Ontario Place, you need to think about it in coordination with Exhibition Place.
Today, Councillor Joe Cressy noted that some of the land here at Ontario Place is city-owned and that the province can't move ahead without the city at the table. Now, back in 2014, I was here when the then provincial Liberal government made their announcement for private partnership here at Ontario Place. Ahead on City News, I'll speak with the former Minister of Tourism about what went wrong. Earlier on City News, we told you about the province's announcement today that it's open for business when it comes to private developers' pitches for the future of Ontario Place. Now, back in 2014, I was here when the then provincial Liberal government made a similar pitch to private developers. And today we spoke with the former Minister of Tourism about what went wrong.
Well, the thing that worked was creating more accessible space. We built a park down there, the Bill Davis Trail, and there was a revitalization of the Cinesphere and the pods. What didn't work is the fact that it is very complicated. There's City of Toronto land down there. There's long-term contracts, so it's not something you can just walk in and change overnight. But we always maintain that Ontario Place was a place that was given to the children of Ontario by Robarts and Premier Davis, so they could realize their vision, and it's something that always guided us as Liberals.
You have concerns with handing over the keys potentially to the private sector for the private sector's vision, that vision of a place for children to go gets lost.
Government said that they're not going to put a penny in it, so it's obvious that it's going to go to the interest of business, not necessarily children in the province. At the end of the day, I was hoping that the Premier would continue to expand on the island with the vision that John Tory put down in the Liberals many years ago, to build a place that is there for children and for families and that's accessible, meaning you don't have to have big bucks to go and enjoy Ontario Place.
Your government at the time was able to get Trillium Park together. You were able to refurbish the Cinesphere, though lots of it still stands derelict today.
Right.
Did you have trouble getting some private sector on board, Or was it an election that kind of stopped things in its tracks?
Well, both. You know, when you make a commitment as a government to invest in a place that's good for families, you're going to have to put a bit of investment into that. So it's finding that balance between what's right for business and what's right for the people of Ontario.
As you can see, not much has changed here since the Liberals made their pitch for Ontario Place back in 2014. Today we asked the Conservative government why we should believe anything will change this time around. They told us to wait. They've got big things planned. They're accepting proposals from private developers until September 3rd.